الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه وأهل بيت الطاهرة أجمعين ما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We now begin the countdown to Ramadan, and we are already many days into the month of Rajab. And then we have the month of Sha'ban, and then inshallah the month of Ramadan. And this is the time when our thoughts begin to turn towards the devotion to Allah Ta'ala and turning away from the priorities of the dunya and focusing on ibadah and building our connection with Allah Ta'ala. In the Qur'an, the well-known verse in Surah At-Taubah, chapter 9, verse 36, which is often quoted, states, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. After this it goes on to talk about a specific issue. So the verse states that inna, surely, iddata shuhuri, the counting of the months. Inda Allah, with Allah Ta'ala, ithna ashara, are 12. Athna ashara shahra, 12 months. Fi kitabillah, meaning in the record which is with Allah Ta'ala about creation. يَوْمَ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Here the translators say from the day Allah Ta'ala created the heavens and the earth, meaning that Allah Ta'ala has already prescribed this reckoning of time, that this will be in 12 months. أَرْبَعَةٌ حُرُمٌ. 4 of them are sacred, meaning 4 of these months are specifically sacred and sanctified. ذَلِكَ الدِّينُ الْقَيِّمُ. This is the correct or the continuous religion, the established religion. فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. This is a very important phrase. فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. So do not wrong yourselves in these months. We'll go on to talk about what that means. Now, first of all, these 4 sacred months, what are they? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, in a Sahih narration mentioned in Bukhari Sharif, narrated by Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam said that the division of time has turned to its original form, which was current when Allah created the heavens and the earth. This mirrors the wording of the Quranic verse here. And the year is of 12 months, out of which 4 months are sacred. So here, up to here, the hadith mirrors the wording of the verse of the Qur'an. And then the Prophet ﷺ goes on to elaborate and specify which those months are. So he said 3 are in a succession: Dhul Qada, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. So the 2 months which precede the Hajj and the month of Muharram, which is after the Hajj and which is the first month of the Islamic calendar, these are in succession. He said these are 3 of the 4 sacred months referred to in the Qur'an. He said, and the 4th is Rajab. And in this narration he said Rajab of the tribe of Mudar, which comes between Jamadi al-Thaniya and Sha'ban. And this is mentioned because some of the other tribes, they counted the months in a different order. So he said that the month as specified by this tribe, meaning that they count it as preceding Ramadan. So it's Rajab, Jamadi Thani, then Rajab, then Sha'ban, then Ramadan. So in this order, Rajab is the sacred month, as this tribe had reckoned these months. So what does it mean if we are in a sacred month? What does it mean? What should we do? So here the narrators have focused on this phrase, فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do not wrong yourselves in these months. And they mentioned a number of factors. He said that one of the commentators said that sinning in these months is worse than sinning in other months. meaning there is a heightened sense of retribution here. And it is against the sanctity of this month. If Allah Ta'ala says, Arba'atun hurum, hurum means that they are sanctified, they are sacred. Some things have been made haram. Why do we call it Masjid al-Haram? We call it the haram. Haram means it is sanctified. It means some things become haram. Disobedience to Allah becomes haram. Fighting and hurting people becomes haram. And even some things, when you are in the state of ihram, when you go for umrah, you are in the state of ihram. At that time, relations, marital relations become haram. All of this ihram, haram, hurum, all of this means that Allah Ta'ala says some things are not permitted for you because of the sanctity of the time and the place. You are in a place, you are in a time which is sacred. So avoid doing those things which are displeasing to Allah Ta'ala. So we have to now, from Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan, we have to start thinking very carefully about every action that we take, every utterance that we make, every look that we take. When you look, your eyes are working. Is it halal or haram? When your ears are listening, is someone gossiping? Am I hearing backbiting? Is it halal or haram? When you speak, again, the same things. Am I defaming someone? Am I lying? Am I cheating? Am I being dishonest? Is it halal or haram? Where am I going? Is that place halal or haram? What am I doing? Is it halal, haram? You have to start having a heightened sensitivity to whether your actions are permitted and pleasing to Allah Ta'ala. And the more time we spend in the mosque and in the presence of the shuyukh, reciting the Qur'an, doing dhikr adhkar, praying nawafil, keeping a fast, all of these things will protect and preserve us. Because it is hard to sin in these environments. It is hard to sin. It is hard to speak falsehood when your tongue is busy with the remembrance of Allah. So keep your tongue busy with good things. The same with your eyes. If you're looking at the pages of the Qur'an, you are safe from looking at haram. If you are in the masjid, you are safe from going to a place where you'll do bad things. If you are in good company, then you are safe from doing harm, because the people will encourage you towards doing good actions. And Allah Ta'ala says, فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ, that this is a form of doing dhulm upon yourself, that you will be wronging yourself. If you commit indecency and disobedience at a time which Allah Ta'ala has made sacred, then you will be wronging yourself. You will not harm Allah, but you will wrong yourself, because you are missing out on rewards which are heightened. Imagine if you go to the Kaaba and you fail to pray in Masjid al-Haram, you miss 100,000 rewards. So it's heightened rewards. So you are doing dhulm upon yourself if you miss a prayer there. So the Rajab is putting us on this course that we are in a special time. And again, some of the commentators said that as well as sins being multiplied, the rewards are also multiplied. So again, this time period of these sacred months begins the period of time when Allah Ta'ala begins to multiply the rewards of good deeds and multiply the sin of the bad deeds. So this means that you have more incentive to work hard, knowing that your rewards will be multiplied. Another commentator said that injustice during the sacred months is worse and graver than injustice in other months. Although injustice is always wrong, but it's more wrong in these months. I talked the last 2 weeks about justice and its importance. So we have to start thinking very carefully about how we are treating people, whether we are fulfilling their rights. Remember, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى. He commands you to do justice and to be gracious and to look after your family and relatives. So adl, here the commentator said, adl means that you give people their due. You do not deny people their rights. If you have parents, what are the rights of the parents? فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. Don't say uff in front of them. Are you fulfilling all of the rights? Are you respecting them? What is their right? If there is a neighbor, are you fulfilling their rights? If someone has a bereavement in the family, are you going to visit and to commiserate with them? So are you fulfilling the rights of people in need, people around you? So adl, all of this. So injustice during these months will be more severe than at other times. And another commentator, Qatada, who's very well known, commentator of the Qur'an, he said, Allah has chosen some of His creation above others. So here, these are the scholars. They think on a different level to us. So he is saying that time is a creation of Allah Ta'ala. Time is one of Allah's creation. And within every creation, He has caused some to excel over others. So he said that Allah has chosen some of His creation over others. He chose messengers from angels and from men. So meaning out of the angels and the men, He elevated them by making them messengers. Allah Ta'ala said, even amongst the messengers, said, تِلْكَ رُسُلُ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. That these are the messengers, we elevated some of them over others. So amongst the messengers, some are elevated. But the messengers themselves are elevated amongst the human beings. Amongst the malaika, Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, he is given a senior status. He goes to the prophets. Then we have the other angels, Mikail alayhi salam, Israfil alayhi salam, Israel alayhi salam. These are the senior angels. Malik and Ridwan, these are the guardians of hell and heaven. So all of these are senior angels. In every creation, Allah Ta'ala has created those who are senior. And He chose His speech above all speech, meaning the Qur'an and the kalam of Allah is elevated above the speech of man. This was a masala for which Imam Ahmad rahmatullah alayhi was tortured. But he maintained that the kalam of Allah is divine. And this was a point of aqeedah for which he withstood persecution in his time, until this point was established, that Allah's speech is superior to human speech. The masajid above all areas of the earth. So Allah Ta'ala said in one hadith, we are told that the parts of the earth which are most beloved to Allah are the masajid. So amongst the places of the earth, He chose some to give them fadila. And in the same way, He gave Ramadan and the sacred months, these 4 sacred months, and the month of Ramadan, which is mentioned specifically in the Qur'an, by the way. Here He said, Arba'atun Hurum. But Ramadan, He mentioned specifically, Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Qur'an. So it's not that He didn't mention Ramadan in the Qur'an, but Ramadan was mentioned individually, with its own ayah in its own time and place. Shahru Ramadan. Mentioned by name. Here He didn't mention them by name. So Ramadan and the sacred months above all months, and Friday above the other days. Sayyidul Ayyam, Friday is the greatest of the days. And Laylatul Qadr above all nights. Laylatul Qadri khayru min alfi shahr. So Laylatul Qadr, He elevated above all nights. So all these different aspects of God's creation, He made some elevated above others, and He gave fadila to these 4 months. Rajab, Dhul Qada, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram al-Haram. Now the Prophet ﷺ also mentioned the fadail of these months, and in particular these 3 months, as I said, Rajab, Sha'ban and Ramadan. In one narration it's mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ said that Rajab is the month of Allah, and Sha'ban is His month, and Ramadan is the month of the Ummah. And this is the time when nafil fasting is encouraged more. So the Prophet ﷺ used to fast more in these months in preparation for the month of Ramadan, to get himself ready. And in the narrations it is said that in Rajab, sometimes he would fast so much that they thought he would continue fast continuously. And other times he would stop fasting so that they thought he would not fast in Rajab. And the reason for this is that this Prophet ﷺ was rahmatan lil alameen, a mercy for the world. And sometimes when he did a nafil ibadah, he would love it so much he would keep on repeating it. But then he would think, what if through my nafil action this would become fard upon the people, it would put them in hardship. And then he would stop. And so it was with the Taraweeh prayer, for example, that he then stopped for a while so that it wouldn't become fard for the people to copy him. So this was his form of his rahmah, that he didn't make Rajab, the fasting of Rajab, compulsory upon people. But he did begin to get into this pattern of fasting in Rajab and Sha'ban. So in one of the months, Sha'ban, he mentioned in its fadila, he said, ذَلِكَ شَهْرٌ Sha'ban, I'm talking about, because we have that month coming up as well. So we can begin to get ourselves ready for the nafil fast. ذَلِكَ شَهْرٌ يغفل الناس عنه بين رجب ورمضان وهو شهر ترفع فيه الأعمال إلى رب العالمين فأحب أن يرفع عملي وأنا صائم. This is why I mentioned this hadith to you, because the Prophet ﷺ is saying that there is a month between Rajab and Ramadan, which is Sha'ban, and people are unaware of its blessings. And he said, it is a month in which the deeds are taken up to Allah Ta'ala. And he said, I love that when my deeds are presented before Allah, that I should be in the state of fasting. So this fasting in itself is a form of protection. That when you are in the state of fasting, you have a heightened sensitivity to what is halal and haram. You are always checking, am I allowed, am I not allowed? And so this prepares you for Ramadan. And it respects the sanctity of the month of Rajab as well. Because it already got you into that mindset of thinking, this is a sacred month, and I need to be more attuned to what is halal and haram and what is pleasing to Allah. And in the state of fasting, you will be more attuned. Because you are not busy with your eating and your drinking, and you'll always be thinking before everything, am I allowed, am I not allowed? So the checking, the mindset is checking. Should I be saying this? Will it invalidate my fast? Will it lower the reward of my fast? Then I should be careful. So you are in a process of checking. Can I eat? Can I drink? In the same way, can I go here? Can I do that? Can I look at haram? Can I look at something haram? Can I say something haram? Can I go somewhere haram? You are always checking. So the fast is already protecting you. Another hadith, this one is from Mishkat al-Masabih. The Prophet ﷺ said, we are told that إِذَا دَخَلَ رَجَبْ قال اللهم بارك لنا في رجب وشعبان وبلغنا رمضان. So this is a dua the Prophet ﷺ used to make, that oh Allah, give us barakah in Rajab and Sha'ban and help us to reach Ramadan. Give us life so that we can enjoy the blessings of another Ramadan. Give us life until Ramadan. Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban. What is barik? Give us blessings. What does it mean? So here, if you think about what we associate with barakah. Barakah means that our wealth goes further. And barakah means that our earnings are increased. And barakah means that our time is increased. We have more time. And also barakah means that our good deeds are increased. Allahumma barik lana fi salih al-amal. In our good deeds we wish for barakah. That our good deeds are increased, that this life which Allah Ta'ala has given us, one of the things that the Prophet ﷺ said that a person should pray for is a long life of obedience. You should ask Allah for more time upon this earth which is spent in His obedience. Don't ask for Him to hasten death and to shorten your life, but ask Him for more time in which you can worship Him, more time in which you can thank Him, more time in which you can do things upon this earth which are useful. Like Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said that even if Qiyamah comes upon you and you have a seed in your hand, plant it before you go. Because this world is for action and the hereafter is for reward. And even if you plant a seed here and someone eats from it, or you have done something constructive, you will have reward for it in the hereafter. So the barakah of Rajab and Sha'ban is that your rizq, look, maybe you eat somewhere and you just feed yourself. But when you are fasting, what do? You call people to your house. You cook food, you prepare food, and your table is full and your guests are there, and you love to feed them for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. You see the barakah. How many people are eating from your rizq in Ramadan? And you send money for the iftar, and how many people are eating from your rizq? This is all barakah. And how many good deeds are you doing? If your mind is inclining towards doing more and more good deeds, there is barakah in your good deeds. So you are getting more out of your life. The same month that you may have passed in heedlessness is now passing in ibadah. The person who couldn't read fard is now reading nafil. The person who was busy eating is now fasting. There's barakah in your time, there's barakah in your wealth. So all of this blessing is to do with appreciating the value of time and maximizing the benefit you get from it. Appreciate the value of the money in your pocket and maximize the benefit that you, your family, and the people around you get from it. It's not just for you to hoard and to squander. It's there for you to invest. Invest it in looking after your family well. Invest it in looking after your community. Investing in helping the needy. More barakah will come from the same rizq. Think carefully about how you spend your time and your wealth and the deeds that you spend your days and nights doing. In one of the commentaries it is mentioned that the name Rajab, the month of the Rajab, the name comes from the word tarjib. Tarjib meaning to honor. So this is nice sometimes to understand the linguistic meaning of things as well. Why is it called Rajab? And sometimes say Rajab al-Murajjab, because it means the month of honor. It's an honored month, a sacred month, as Allah Ta'ala said in the Qur'an. So the Arabs, even in the time of Jahiliyyah, they already had this tradition of honoring these months, Rajab and the Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram. And Islam preserved these things. And also because this is ordained from prior times with Allah Ta'ala, it may be that also they had inherited some of these things from Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam and the religion that they were on before, their forefathers were on before, which had become corrupted. So Islam sometimes also revalidated the good things that they already had with them. And it's mentioned in the narrations in one of the commentaries that one of their traditions was that they would break the iron heads from the spears in these months to respect their sanctity, meaning that they won't kill or hurt anyone. So the iron tip is what does the damage. So they would remove it to say that they, for example, وَمَنْ دَخَلَهُ كَانَ آمِنًا. Remember in the haram, whoever entered it, entered in peace. So they would indicate their peaceful intentions by removing the iron tips from the spears, so they will not harm anyone. So it's good to understand sometimes that these months are venerable months. Here for us, we have to create this sanctity because we don't have those kind of traditions where we do something different in our houses. We have to create that environment through our actions, our intentions, through learning and education, and through setting a good example for our children and our communities. Perhaps establish some traditions, some patterns already. Begin to give more sadaqah, begin to wake up for tahajjud prayer. Start to up your game a little bit. Start to prepare for Ramadan. If you were running a marathon, you would do some training. You would get up early and do some exercise. Don't just go straight into Ramadan, but begin to study the Qur'an more, understand what is pleasing for Allah Ta'ala. Make dua Allah Ta'ala to give you, Allahumma waffiqna li salih al-amal. May Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq to do good deeds and to respect these sacred months and all the blessings that they have. May Allah Ta'ala place barakah for them in us, may barakah in them for us. I just want to make one announcement. I am inshallah running a Qur'an intensive program for 8 weeks, Saturday afternoons, 2:30 till 4 o'clock. It will begin on the 24th of February, inshallah, online, easy for you to access, and it will continue through the month of Ramadan. There's a poster on the back door, one on the notice board at the side. It's also been circulated on the mosque's WhatsApp group. If you or any of your family members are interested, please register before the 7th of February so we can keep a space for you, inshallah. It's a way of studying the Qur'an. Inshallah, I will go into more detail that I am able to do in these khutbahs. We will give you instruction on the Arabic language and the balagha of the Qur'an and so on, and we'll be able to give you more detail in there, inshallah. And you'll understand the content of the surahs of the 30th juz, inshallah, in more detail. So may Allah Ta'ala place barakah in that initiative and help us all to come close to the Qur'an in the month of Ramadan. Obviously, we have the International Court of Justice ruling as well, which is probably concluding now as well. So may Allah Ta'ala grant justice to the oppressed and provide the best outcome for the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. If everybody can just, if you can stand up, maybe just take the space you will take in the prayer and just close the gaps, move